This educational video has been created for Colonialism and Indigenous Peoples, a class at the University of Ottawa. The university's location is built on unceded and unsurrendered Algonquin territory, and as an institution continues to maintain colonial histories, discourses, and systems of knowledge. Both student researchers are white settlers on Turtle Island, and we are mindful that our positions as such necessarily impact our perspective on these Indigenous histories. Furthermore, while we aim to honour the Oneida people's right to self-definition in our research, many of the existing research materials and archives were created by white historians and may be incomplete and biased as a result. The Oneida people refer to themselves as Onyotaaka, people of the Standing Stone. According to legend, wherever the Oneida people decide to settle, an upright stone would appear near their village. Today, the sacred stone rests in the traditional territory of the Oneida Nation, which is in New York State. The three main clans of the Oneida Nation are the Wolf Clan, the Bear Clan, and the Turtle Clan. The Wolf Clan is in charge of looking after the nation, the Bear Clan is in charge of the nation's well-being, and the Turtle Clan takes care of the nation's needs. Clan membership is matrilineal, meaning that children belong to the clan of their mothers. The Oneida Nation belongs to the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also referred to as the people of the Longhouse. The Oneida people, like the other nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, lived in longhouses. These birch bark buildings housed several families who belonged to the same clan. All people who lived together could trace their lineage back to one woman. The exact date of the Confederacy's creation is unknown and often said to be time immemorial. It is therefore considered one of the oldest participatory democracies. As the story goes, the peacemaker was sent by the Creator to spread kariwiu, or good mind. With the help of Indigenous leader Hiawatha, he taught law of peace to the Haudenosaunee. The peacemaker and Hiawatha traveled from community to community, persuading chiefs to join the Great League of Peace. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy is therefore the only government with a direct link to the Creator. The peacemaker and Hiawatha asked clan mothers to present their chiefs and placed deer antlers on each of their heads to symbolize their authority to the Five Nations. The Five Nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy are the Mohawks, Oneida, Onondagas, Cayugas, and Senecas. Each nation maintains its own council with chiefs chosen by the clan mother for internal affairs. All that concerns the Five Nations together is discussed in the Grand Council, which consists of 50 chiefs. All clans of all nations are represented. According to the story, the peacemaker planted a tree and ordered the chiefs to discuss under it. This is why the original sacred emblem of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Hiawatha Wampum Belt, has a tree at its center. The design of this wampum forms the basis of the flag of the Haudenosaunee used to this day. The nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy take on a role within a metaphorical longhouse. The Onondagas are keepers of the fire. Elder brothers are made up of Mohawk, Seneca, and Onondaga, and younger brothers are made up of Cayuga and Oneida. The keepers of the fire open up discussion, then toss the topic to the elder brothers. They discuss and pass on their ideas to the younger brothers, who discuss them and pass their conclusion back to the elder brothers, who in turn make a final decision and pass this to the keeper of the fire. This is how the council works. All nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy have slightly different but similar creation stories. This is one version of the Oneida creation story. Before there was any land, there was water all over. The only things were the creatures that lived in the water and the birds. Further above, there was a land called the Sky World, where supernatural beings lived. In the middle of the land was a great tree, which gave them their light, and on it there were different things that sustained them. No one was allowed to cut into the tree, or they would be punished. However, a pregnant woman craved bark and roots from the tree, and asked her husband to get them for her. As he began to dig, a big hole opened in the ground. He ran back to his wife and told her, and she told him she would get the bark and root herself. When she got to the tree, she peered through the hole, slipped, and fell. As she fell, the birds and water animals saw the light through the hole and something falling. The birds soon found it was a woman from the sky world. They helped her down and placed her on the back of the great turtle. She asked the animals if they knew where there would be any mud so she could mix it with the medicines she had grabbed as she fell through the hole. The muskrat got some from the bottom of the water, and she took it and mixed it with the medicines. She then began to rub the mixture in a counterclockwise direction, and the land began to expand. Then the woman gave birth to a girl, and as she grew up, the mother taught her about the things that grew on the land and how to use them. The young girl grew up to be very beautiful, and one day, as she was walking far from her mother, a man appeared before her. The girl became terrified and fainted. When she awoke, she noticed that there were 2 arrows on her stomach. One had a sharp point on it, and the other was dull. She took them home with her. She told her mother about what had happened, and her mother explained to her that they were from the sky world, and that the man was the west wind, and that she would have 2 children. As the days went by, the young woman noticed that there was great commotion within her body. When it was finally time to give birth, the right-handed twin came out first in the natural way. The left-handed twin had seen light coming from the mother's mouth and wanted to go that way. As he went that way, he came out her side by her armpit and killed her. When the grandmother came and saw their daughter was dead, she asked what had happened. Right away, the left-handed twin said it was the right-handed twin that killed their mother. Then the right-handed twin spoke up and explained to their grandmother what had happened. The grandmother did not believe the right-handed twin. She told the right-handed twin as part of his punishment he had to bury their mother. As he finished, there immediately grew corn, squash, and tobacco. After the right-handed twin buried his mother, he tried to go back to his grandmother, but she told him not to come back anymore. He got furious and killed his grandmother with an axe. He cut off her head, threw it to the sky, and it became the moon. He chopped up her body, threw it to the sky, and it became the stars. The only time that the grandmother was allowed to come out was at night, the time of the left-handed twin. The 2 grew rapidly and had the ability to create things. As the right-handed twin was walking about, he was creating the grasses and different medicine plants and giving them names. The left-handed twin would go around and give poison to some of the plants and distort some others. Now as the right-handed twin was going around, he was creating different plants that could be used as food, and also different kinds of trees. Some were tall and straight, some big and wide, and he gave them different uses. And his brother would go around changing the edible plants by making them smell awful. He would give the tall trees rough bark, and make the big ones small and stout with sharp thorns. Then the right-handed twin started to create different animals, small ones and big ones. These animals would eat the plants to help them grow. Then the left-handed twin came around and made animals that would eat the other animals that his brother had created. The right-handed twin made different areas where the waters would flow. He made streams, rivers, springs, lakes, and the big oceans. The left-handed twin came by and made the rivers have rough and jagged rocks that caused them to have very rough rapids. He also poisoned some of the springs. When the right-handed twin went back to look at all the things that he had created, he looked at everything he made and he saw the changes. This made him very angry. So he set out to look for his brother, and the right-handed twin told him that he had no right changing the things that he had created. The left-handed twin replied that he wanted to create things too. So the right-handed twin said that it was time that they decided who would be the creator of all things on Turtle Island. They decided that they would challenge each other with a game of lacrosse. When the sun would rise in the east, the game would start, and when it went down in the west, the game would end. When the sun rose from the east, they began to play lacrosse and became very rough with each other. When the sun set in the west, the game stopped, but neither one of them had won, so they said they would play the Peachstone game. When the sun rose, they began to play, and when the sun set in the west, still no one had won. The left-handed twin said the only way that anyone was going to be the creator of all things was that one of them would have to die. They began to fight, but it was still even, no one was winning. They went to reach for something to kill the other with. The right-handed twin reached for the deer antlers, and the left-handed twin reached for an old stick. The right-handed twin knocked out his brother and thought he had killed him. He made a raft, set him on it, and put him out to sea. Then the right-handed twin was considered the creator of all things. He was called the holder of the sky. The left-handed twin was called Flint because of his rigidness. The left-handed twin was not killed. He survived and established new land across the ocean and created his own things. During the American Revolution, the Oneida Nation, unlike other nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, chose to be neutral. However, in 1777, they became the only nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy to fight in support of the colonists, notably supporting George Washington's troops by bringing the famished soldiers food. Recognizing this, the Oneida Nation was treated favorably in the Fort Stanwix Treaty, stating, "The Oneida and Tuscarora nations shall be secured in the possession of the lands on which they are settled." However, only a few years later, the governor of New York decided to give parcels of Oneida land to returning soldiers. It is said that money was thrown at the feet of the Oneida people, and they were told it was payment for their land and that they must leave. Those who remained in their homes were forcibly removed. Only few people of the Oneida Nation remained in New York State. Most moved to Wisconsin or southern Ontario, to the banks of the River Thames. The historical period, which began after the Revolutionary War from approximately 1784 to 1934, is known as the Time of Troubles. In 1920, at the age of 22, Oneida woman Mary Winder wrote to the Federal Indian Bureau asking how much money was owed to the Oneida Nation for the loss of its homeland. She referred to thousands of acres of land guaranteed to the Oneidas in 1794 Treaty of Canandaigua. She continued to write to the federal government for over 3 decades until her death in 1954, 3 years after the Oneida land claim was officially filed. The nation eventually won the claim that was initiated by Mary. Today, the Oneida people live primarily in 3 areas: in the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, in their traditional and sacred land in central New York, and in the Oneida Nation of the Thames in southern Ontario. During the 1820s, Oneidas began moving to what is now known as Wisconsin and purchased lands from the Winnebago and Menominee people. Today, they continue to strengthen their sovereignty by exercising their right of self-government and preserving their rich cultural traditions. In the 1840s, 240 people of the Oneida Nation bought land in southern Ontario close to the River Thames. They are one of few First Nations communities who bought the land they now reside on. The Oneida Nation of the Thames makes extensive efforts to preserve their language and culture. The Language and Cultural Centre has a large collection of online language and cultural lessons, including lessons in Oneida Sign Language. The standing stone that gives the Oneida people its name is located in New York State. The Oneida Nation continued to fight on behalf of the claim initiated by Mary Winder after her death. In 2013, the Oneida Nation, State of New York, and Madison and Oneida counties finally signed an agreement that put their legal disputes to rest. This project has allowed us to learn more about the Oneida people, their creation narrative, their role within the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the struggles they have faced due to settler colonialism, and their loss of their traditional sacred territory, and their resilience as a vibrant and vital culture that flourishes to this day. We are grateful to our professor, Tracy Lynn Coates, for giving us this opportunity to study Oneida history and culture.